The pace of people dying in jails with mental illness is relentless, claimed Gary A. Harkin in American jails. Most people are unaware of the rising mental health crisis taking place within jails around the country until it affects someone they know, as was the case with the Marino family. After Marco Marino was locked up and placed in isolation, his symptoms began to worsen. Day by day, his condition deteriorated. After only 8 days, Marco was found dead in his cell. Mental illness is becoming a death sentence for many inmates due to the rising number of inmates suffering from a mental illness and the lack of care and treatment that they receive. Terry A. Coopers writes that a 2014 report from the National Sheriff's Association and the Treatment Advocacy Center concluded there are 10 times as many individuals with serious mental illness in our jails and prisons as there is in our hospitals. Take a look at this jail cell. Take a look at this hospital room. Now, take a look at this jailer and psychiatrist. Imagine that you are suffering from a mental illness. Where would you rather go to receive treatment? And who would you rather receive it from? After the start of deinstitutionalization in 1950, jail populations increased more and more rapidly as hospitals were downsized and closed. As a result, the number of inmates suffering from a mental illness continued to rise and overpopulate the American jails. In 1950, the jail population was roughly 86,500. In 1983, it had increased to more than 223,500. And in 2016, the Bureau of Justice Statistics reported a rapid increase of more than 740,700. Within the American jails, often there is nowhere else to take the mental ill. Therefore, jails are becoming a default treatment center for many individuals. An American Jails report from 2019 reported that according to the Bureau of Justice Statistics, America's 3,000 plus jails house roughly 186,000 people in serious psychological distress. A mental health crisis can lead to an arrest, being placed in jail, and not receiving treatment for the illness, and then that leads to death. Let me give you a common example of how someone with a mental illness might cycle through the criminal justice system. An individual with schizophrenia is caught urinating in public. They are arrested, charged with a misdemeanor, and then taken to jail and put in isolation. A 2018 report from the American jails concluded being locked into a small cell with rigid structure to every aspect of daily life, imposed by a detention center, tends to aggravate the very symptoms that should be being treated. The judge then orders the individual to a mental hospital where they can receive mental health treatment and be able to stand trial. However, with no hospital beds available, the individual must wait in jail. According to Terry A. Coopers, 70% of prisoners in jail have not been found guilty of anything. They await trial. By the time the individual receives a court date and sees the judge, their condition has severely deteriorated. Jails, prisons, and detention centers are not designed to serve the needs of mentally ill individuals. The mentally ill requires more supervision and specialized treatment, as they can become a danger to themselves and others if they do not receive their medication and the treatment they need. Do you know someone with a mental illness? Do you know someone with a mental illness awaiting trial? Today, we learned that containing the mentally ill in jails is truly a big problem. I hope that you learned of the rising number of mentally ill problems and the dangers that occurred and possibilities that lie ahead has interested you. I hope that if you ever find yourself or a loved one in this situation, you will know the signs and be able to help them before it is too late.